And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast with my partners Brian Siegel and Jonathan Talley. I am Curtis Wilson, and this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts at the Main Street Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy located at 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg. Hey, I see y'all again.
What up, man?
Oh.
Y'all dried off yet?
No. Feet still wet. So, boys, first of all, regardless of outcome of the game, we're going to get into that. Don't worry. We got a lot of notes. We got a lot of statements we want to make on that. But this weekend, effectively, the entire crew was there.
Mm-hmm.
Tally drove up from Bama. Me and Siegel kicked in from Richmond, swung by Roanoke, picked up our music man, Jason. And then we effectively we got up with Sheldon. Sheldon's not here tonight. He's working hard. Young man working, making his career. And then finally we got up with Jeremy. We broke bread. We spilled drinks. We told lies. We told stories. And then we went through one of the most insane games I've ever been a part of.
It definitely was an experience. I've never been a part of a game that was delayed like that. I've had my pull them off the field for a half hour, get back out there and do it again. I've been a part of those. I've not been a part of over 5.5 hour delay due to weather.
Don't forget the sideways rain and the hail and the tents getting flipped upside down and twisted like pretzels as well.
It looked like a damn tent graveyard. Scoreboard got hit with the lightning. Saw lightning hit back down near the airport. I mean, it was some.
What are you talking about? Lightning hit there in lot 2.
Yeah,
we were on south side, the south end zone side, and literally the lightning struck directly in south 2. By the way, for those who are in south end zone, we might have been in the absolute south end zone top floor was probably the absolute worst spot to wait out that storm in. Tally was smart. Tally went down one floor. We went down there about 45 minutes too late.
Yeah.
The rough stuff had already went through.
I was trying to get gone. As soon as I seen that rain start coming sideways, I was like, we too high. We are too high.
We too high up.
Lower.
Way too high up. And again, like Brian said, 5.5 hour delay. We waited it out. I mean, I'll say this. When we came back, I've never set that good at any sporting event in my life.
No.
No. And if y'all wondering how close, I should have sent the picture and let Brian put it up.
Yeah.
We could see Chris Marr's nose hairs.
Yeah.
That's how close we were.
Could have leaned over and touched the field.
Could have.
Shout out.
Give our two guys a shout out on that. Who we ran into them at the Beamer Barn, and they said,
BK and Durlax.
BK and Durlax. They told us, hey, we get this thing going. Y'all come back with us.
It was awesome, man.
It was awesome.
It was an awesome time. We got to sit with some of the parents of the players. You know, being right there behind the defensive huddle for the most part. Every time they came off the field, they sit right in front of us. I was ear hustling the whole time, listening at what they needed to work on. Another experience is like the bike was right in front of us as well. Like every player that went and sit on the bike I could reach out and touch them for real. You know what I'm saying? So when I seen Lane come get on the bike, I'm like, no, we don't need you on the bike.
No, get away from
Get off the bike.
But I mean, I knew he was. I seen him, and that's stuff you don't see on TV because he didn't go down on the field. He kind of, was running a route and just kept coming to the sideline.
Yeah,
came straight over to the trainer and was on the bike. So seeing that stuff, definitely not good to see somebody get hurt, but being in the stadium just brings a whole different dimension to your fandom. So all of y'all out there, if you don't go to any games, get to a game. I live 7 hours away, and I drive to a game at least Blacksburg. I drive there at least once a year to go to a game. If I can do it, you can do it. Unless you're Grayson Wimbush and you live in California, you might need to fly.
Yeah. Brian, what did you think, man? I know you probably had some experiences on fields and stuff back in when you were getting recruited, but that close ever sitting?
Not that close ever sitting for a game. No. I've sat. I got some, when I was getting recruited. I did get to see some basketball games, like doing like junior days and shit like that, real close. Sometimes you're sideline first few rows, depending on what they had slated for recruits, but never had a chance to get to a football game that close. So that was a good experience. Like Tally said, I mean, you can kind of take in and kind of drink in the sideline atmosphere a lot more from that level. You don't quite get the eye in the sky view that you would get from a different level where you kind of see everything that's happening on the field. But I think you're kind of more kind of in the shit, as it were, from that level, and I think that's a good perspective to have as well.
It absolutely is. You learn so much. You see more going on. Like Tally said, you were focused on what they were talking to them to improve, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Offense was in another location. It was we could not effectively get down there. But again, it was an experience, and that's what games are. And even coming back, and I want to say it was probably 20,000 because West stands were just about full. North end zone was completely full, and it was still loud.
It was still loud.
Still loud.
Still loud.
Yeah. I mean, and that's another thing. Sitting that low, you feel it. Like you feel the noise just coming over top of you. And I got hair standing up because I remember the first time that's happened, early in the first quarter, and it was just like, Jesus Lord, like it's a third of the stadium here, and it's still just absolutely humming.
Yeah.
But
especially like we didn't get a proper intro either time.
Purdue fans were mad about that too. They were very upset about that. They were like, "We didn't even get that." Like
we got a half-ass Sandman. I was like, "Yeah, you did. Sandman. You really did.
Y'all really did." So we need to reschedule it because y'all got a D effort from us.
Right.
Right now it's 1-1. The road team took both of them. Let's get one to kind of put a bow on it.
Let's go meet in Nashville.
Come on, that's close to me.
In Nashville.
I can handle that.
A good game for Nashville. All right, well, we're going to definitely talk about the game here, 24-17 loss, the Hokies take. But real quick, just a couple things. First of all, we all got them. We got the Rowdy for Robbie stuff right here. Obviously, an away game this week, that will not be in any lot, but it is still always for sale or for donation at the Main Street Pharmacy. Walk right in there and get you one. But let's start with some of the bad news. And probably the worst news was the injury to Ollie Jennings. He is definitely out this week. As we were walking in Lot 4 back into Lane Stadium, we saw him on the golf cart with the boot. And it sucks. It sucks for that kid in so many different ways.
All right.
Yeah.
He was a great kid. I mean, he was you looked like he was hitting his stride, man. He full of energy, and then to go down the way he did, getting rolled up on, I mean, it's nothing that nobody can prevent. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the weather. If that's what the Lord say happening, that's what's happening, He was doing everything right. It's not like he was hanging, sometimes people get rolled up on piles just standing there. He was downfield blocking, 20 yards down the field.
He's trying to get his man a block and
block. He's rolled up on and ankle injury. So we just, sending prayers out for him that
absolutely
his health is good, and as well as his mental health, because it takes an athlete down, man, when they get injured, and they've been so hyped and waiting for this. And he had his great first game, 2 touchdowns, and then you go into the second game, you're amped, and it's like the second game, and you go out. So yeah, it definitely sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sucks because, I mean, you saw the potential that he had in this offense in the first week. And, you feel like that was only going to grow as the season went on. You get more comfortable in the offense, more comfortable with guys around you. So him being kind of our biggest threat offensively definitely hurts, but also, you feel for the kid because, he's not only trying to go out with the bang here but also trying to take some steps for the next level as well. So hopefully he can get back on the field as quick as he can and still put out something like that, so he can turn that piece of it around as well.
Yeah, and I go back to what we saw after the ODU game and having all the family up there. It meant a lot to him to come to Tech. You can tell it genuinely meant a lot. It meant a lot for his family because it's a 3-hour drive. It's a 3-hour drive. It's where so many people that they probably grew up with have gone to, and it really stinks. So like you said, Tally, prayers for a speedy recovery for the mental part of it. Although when we hollered at him, we hope you do feel better, man. He was, he hollered back. He was in
good spirits.
He was in good spirits, and that's always a good thing. But that ain't the only injury. Jalen Lane, we already mentioned that a little bit, seeing him on the bike. Burgos got banged up. Wright got banged up. Peoples is banged up.
Yeah.
Y'all know when we were talking about making our predictions, you know what? We talked about where's the floor. Who'd you say? Who'd I miss?
Wells is banged up too.
Wells is banged up.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people banged up, and we talk about the floor. As you start taking people out, I mean, let's hope that some of it's just early week and they're just being cautious with them.
Right.
But man, that was a rough game.
Yeah, I mean, bodies kept dropping, man, as we went along, and it wasn't just like a guy here, a guy there. I mean, it's guys that took some big steps this year that we were counting on. To make plays, right? So I mean, Burgos has been out there making plays.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lane making some big plays out there. Obviously, Jennings going down early that hurt the momentum. That definitely, if we'd have continued playing, I think with that kind of looming over us in real time, I think it could have gotten ugly because I feel like
Jenkins got hurt like that first defensive play of the game as well.
First defensive play.
Yeah,
he did come back.
He came back,
and then Jennings was out too on second play on offense. So, I mean, I feel like right away we had a bunch of gut check injuries that if not for the weather pause, I think could have really snowballed on us a little bit more than it did. So, but guys still questionable this week. I'm hoping we see Lane. I'm hoping we see Burgos in particular. I feel like those two are probably the biggest factor this week overall. But I mean, it was a tough week. I mean, and this is kind of a byproduct of playing on a wet surface. I know the field drained really well, but you're still playing on a wet surface. Anytime you got that going on, freaky shit can happen.
Yeah, definitely. When Burgos came back in, because he went out, and I seen him come back in, and I seen Pry walk up to him and ask him, "Can you go?" And he shook his head, yeah, but he had a big brace on his elbow. But I seen him
probably hyperextended or something. I would imagine.
I don't know exactly what he did, but like you said, maybe hyperextended. But he did go back in, man. And you don't want to think about moral victories, like you want to win, but we were down 17-0, and these kids, they fought, man. Like I was sitting closer to Curtis than you, Brian, and I was looking at Curtis like, we gonna get blew out. It's over. It's 17-0. We can't do nothing. And they just kept fighting, man. And we found a way back in the game, and the defense stepped up, and they were like, they wasn't just going to roll over. That rain delay helped Chris Marv make some adjustments.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And let's go ahead and jump into it. I had something else I want to talk about, but let's jump into it. This is Tell the Truth Tuesday, Wednesday night edition, because
on Wednesday,
Tally's son had a late game. And by all means, we're dads. Things like that happen. Me and Brian completely understand. We'll pivot and go a night longer anyway. It ain't going to hurt nobody's feelings. But let's talk about one with Will. And a lot of people are about to solidly scream at us and say, no, it didn't. But offensively, I'm starting with the offense. I'm waiting for all the comments to pop up over there. Y'all tell me this, because I sat with these two gentlemen who played collegiate football. No less than 7 to 9 times did I hear y'all scream, the player is open. There were other people around us screaming, players are open. The overall passing play design of what we did on Saturday, and then the skill players getting open, that was working, because Tally kept screaming, quit running the ball, just throw it.
Just throw it, man. If they're stacking the box and daring you to beat them with your arm, You got to take what they're giving you.
Yep.
If they're giving you 10 yards across the middle, if they're giving you a wheel route out of the backfield, you got to take it. Like, I get it. You want to say, oh, well, we got to run to set up the pass. Well, no, you don't. If they're going to give it to you, they're already in their position.
Yep. Do it the other way. Pass and set up the run.
We need to make them adjust to us.
Yep.
You know, we don't need to have us adjusting to them. I mean, we gonna run. Let's run what we're running. All right, we see what you got. Okay, we gonna get you out of that. So, yeah, it was people running open, man. I seen a couple times where, you know, receivers had steps on the DBs covering them, and that's one of the things we talked about before the game, going into the game last week. Like, we didn't feel that their secondary was so great that they could stop our receivers. And we were getting deep in that receiver room, man. Like, I seen Aiden Green with steps on people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I seen Felton.
Lofton.
He had Lofton.
Lofton beat people.
Both of our tight ends. Stephen Gosnell. Like, man, I seen a lot of people running free. But, you know, I know we'll talk about it and we don't want to beat on him too much. When your quarterback locks on one receiver and that's all he looks at, he's never going to scan the field.
Yep.
And that's where we're getting in trouble.
Exactly. And I mean, like you said, overall passing play design really good. Especially when you talk about the defense there. I mean, we talked about it last week when we were previewing them, but a lot of single high man coverage. So we got a lot of opportunities where we could beat a man one-on-one. And we did it pretty consistently. I mean, Daquan Wright went out there and had himself a game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that's stepping up after you lose your best wide receiver for the whole game, pretty much. Yeah. You lose your second best wide receiver for at least a whole half.
And I don't know.
And we still were getting open, but you got to still make the plays, and that starts with the quarterback.
And he went down in that last drive as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when he got tackled right in front of us.
Tackled in front of, up against the bench.
Yeah, he got ran up into the bench. We thought he was knocked out. I don't know what was going on with him.
All I saw was there were like 3 medical guys over there.
He was down, man.
He slid like 6 or 7 yards when he got to the sidelines. It was pretty.
He was under the bench. So, you know, I feel like it could have been a little bit of a different drive if you got both of those tight ends just work in the middle as well. So they couldn't guard. If you go look at the game, you go look at the stats, nobody on that team could guard. He was a matchup nightmare. A sophomore tight end doing work like that was good.
No one could guard our receivers or the pass play schemes. We'll get into the other stuff later because y'all know this is 4 sections. I want to talk about this. Let's talk about coverage play. I knew Purdue went for 248. That was on 34 pass attempts. We talked about Burks being a danger. He really was not that big of a danger in this game, because the back end pretty much locked up across the board. Their leading receiver was 8 for 64. Yeah. And the man we were worried about, Deion Burks.
Yeah.
1 catch, 18 yards.
Yeah.
The back end is for real. Whoever's back end.
Playing with a backup. Jalen Jones.
The guy was a wide receiver last year.
Jalen Jones, man. I don't know. Again, I know they just put the whole tape on YouTube. So if y'all haven't watched it, go watch the whole tape. I'm talking about audience members. Y'all go watch this tape, man. Jalen Jones in the back end. I seen a couple times where the kid had perfect coverage. Yep. And that is hard to do. That perfect coverage, no flag, nothing. He played good in the back end, man. I was excited to see him take a step in that game because the receivers that they have, especially Burks kid, the Burks kid can and they just made good plays like in games that we've watched. So I was excited to see that back end do some work back there. They played as good as we can see them play, I think.
Yeah, they only really hit 1 shot down the field, and that ended up getting brought down, right after the catch there. Right. Other than that, we kept everything in front of us. I'd say in the secondary, we tackled pretty well. They didn't get a whole lot of run after the catch in the secondary. So I thought that was really good overall. And I, as you said, I like that we saw Jalen Jones step up. had a pretty good week against ODU, especially for somebody getting really his first live snaps on defense at this level, and really stepped up big this week because he had much more responsibility this week and really answered the call.
Mm-hmm. You know who else answered the call, Brian?
Who's that?
Stroman and Lawson.
Yeah.
Both of those guys had 14 tackles.
Unreal.
Both of them had 14 tackles. And not only did both of them have 14 tackles, they was making plays with everywhere. And again, I ain't saying that we back, but they was making plays with that old school attitude. I seen Jalen Stroman hit somebody on their sideline and look at their sideline and start slapping his helmet. I wanted to put a helmet on. I don't know how much work I could have done, but I wanted to put a helmet on. But just seeing stuff like that, man, and Lawson was all over the field, in the backfield, sideline to sideline. I mean, everybody knows he's an athletic freak, but watching him from ODU to Purdue looks like that he took a step forward to me. Just with his coverage was good, and if you get multiple double-digit tackles, man, like
doing some work.
That's what we need to see.
I mean, and you got the all ACC accolades this week for his play. So
see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So that's big, man. He really showed up. You know, the tackles are great. You know, but that's just a number. But watching him improve significantly in run fits compared to last week, you know, there were some issues last week, significantly better on that front this week. As you said, good in coverage this week. Mm-hmm. He had some more coverage responsibilities this week than he had last week. So it's good to see when you ask more of players and they give you more. And we see that both with we saw it with Lawson, we saw it with Stroman, and we already talked about seeing it with Jalen Jones too. So
yeah, definitely.
That's some positives to take away from this.
I can't remember who. I mean, Curtis, did you have something to go with?
Well, I was going to say, I was thinking about, I can't remember who mentioned it, and I want to see the play, the one where apparently Lawson's getting pushed by like the guard and he gets the hand out and he makes a stop.
Yeah.
Like that's freak stuff.
Yeah.
That's freak stuff. There's only certain guys that are built like that that have the strength to hold the guard to actually get a hold of a guy and get them down. That's freak stuff.
That's some towel drills right there, man. To be able to grab somebody's jersey and pull them down. Brian knows what I'm talking about.
But those guys are special. Yeah. Both of those guys are special.
I think so.
We're not going to have them much longer. We're not going to have them after next year. We ain't going to have them after next year. Go ahead and write that down. Now, my hope is there are people out there that see how they're playing and say, I can go here. I can make my name. I can move to the next level. Yeah. So we'll hope that happens. There's one more accolade we're going to give and what went well. And it's not the best thing, and people are going to laugh probably, but, y'all, Peter Moore made that punt return to back up 5 to 8 yards every single time he kicked it. That kid didn't know what to do. He moved it.
He was booming, man.
He was absolutely booming. And, I mean, he put, 4 inside the 20, a couple deep. They were not getting that much on him. And it was something we talked about in the preseason. Can he get back to where he was 2 years ago? He's well on his way back this year. And what does that do? As much as I want to give the defense credit after giving up to 17 until the nearly last drive, every time Peter Moore was called on, he put Purdue deep. He forced them to drive the field where eventually each time they stalled up until the end.
Yeah, and I think they only had one return where they got more than like 5 yards. Yeah. Most of them got down inside the 10 or 15. I think one was inside the 5. So, I mean, he did his job the whole night.
Yep, 23 total yards returning on 4. So, what, less than 5?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and absolutely, Billy Ray, he is a stud. Absolutely. All right, boys. So, we've talked about the good, but when you lose a game, there's going to be more bad than good. And that's the case here today. And Brian, I'm gonna let you lead it off because it was an issue last week, and you were paying even more attention, being as close as we were.
We could not run the football, guys.
Again.
I don't know if y'all watched the game, but we couldn't run the football. That's a pretty important part of the game, man. We talked about the flow of the game, and the pass plays were called well. We like that part of it, but at some point you've got to be able to run the football effectively so a defense doesn't just load the box and tee off on your quarterback.
Man.
And because that puts even more pressure on your pass pro. You've got to be able to run the football with some degree of efficiency, and we're not able to do that right now. And a lot of it is execution.
3rd and 1, you got to be able to get 1 yard, man. Like we can't do nothing. That like you said, sometimes the play call isn't the problem, and I don't want to go through and critique all of the offensive line right now, but if you are pulling as a tackle and you do not pull into the hole and blow the man out of the hole, and he's the one that makes the tackle, and everybody else is blocked, you're the problem.
Yeah, you don't need to be giving Caden Moore the business.
Yeah,
when your guys,
don't need to
3 feet to your left, blowing up Tootin.
Come on, man. Like, wrap into the hole and root that motherfucker out of there. That's all I'm saying. Do not go stand behind your guard and play the Heimlich maneuver. That's what.
And we were wearing bright orange jerseys.
Come on, man. And they was wearing. You can't. What the? Hey, man.
I think we hear right there. Tallied more than one time as a tight end was asked to make a pull play like that into a hole. Brian, we know you were as a guard as well, and it's like you got to hit the hole. If you see your team's jersey color, you done screwed up.
Right. And that's a mentality, man. I mean, it's done been times where you pull on something and you don't know what you're gonna see when you get in there sometimes. Yeah. But guess what? Sometimes the defender don't know what they're gonna see either. So as an offensive lineman, when you're pulling, like some offensive linemen, just that's their bread and butter because they got quick feet. They can get the shoulders turned or they can get the hips moving, and they can get in the hole and they're low enough where when you see them, it's too late. So some offensive linemen make their money on pulling plays.
They also don't let their eyes twist up their feet.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
A lot of times, when people are pulling, if you're trusting your eyes too much, it can tie up your feet. If you're trusting your muscle memory but not using your eyes, you can end up in the wrong spot. This is just. You got to be able to do both. You got to be able to trust your eyes and see what's happening in real time. The play you're referencing, though, I mean, that was blocked as drawn up. Yeah. There really wasn't a question of where you should be. You should know what the fuck you're doing on that.
I'm going to simplify this just a little bit for everybody who's watching because, it's been all kind of speculation all week, and we've been talking about the game. I seen a clip of Wyatt Teller, and they said Wyatt Teller drove his man 20 yards. And everybody says, oh, that's cool. Oh, okay. This is what I want you to do to think about what Wyatt Teller did. People that's here watching, go fill your trash can up. I don't know. My trash day is on Tuesdays. Fill your trash can up. And instead of using the wheels to roll it down on the front part that doesn't have the wheels. That's still not a defensive lineman. He took the defensive lineman that is in front of him, and he pushed him down the field 20 to 25 yards.
And then put him on his ass.
You want to know why he did that? One, because he's strong. That he is very strong. But number two is because he is a mean motherfucker. Mm-hmm. You got to be mean to play offensive line. You can be nice off the field. You can go to church and you can thank God on Sundays or on Saturdays, whatever. If you're 7 Day Adventist, I don't know what you are. You can pray when you're not on the field. But when you get on the field, you got to be mean. You got to be able to say the person that is lined up in front of me or whoever I can put my hat on that doesn't have the jersey that I have on, I want to inflict pain. I just don't get that from some of our offensive linemen right now.
The other part, though, you mentioned that, it's also he knew exactly where he was supposed to be on that run play. Mm-hmm. That's his fit. I'm right here. I find my guy and I take him. And again, we go back to it. That's been the real problem. Not a lot of push, but a lot of screw ups and a lot of missteps. So It definitely has to improve, but it was definitely bad on Saturday. Now
Yes.
I'm gonna stay on the offensive side of the ball, and it's not to be disrespectful because he had a great game against ODU. But what we saw Saturday afternoon and into the night, that was Grant Wells of last year that showed up. That was not the Grant Wells we saw in the first game. And it was the missing wide open players. It was when the pressure was there, he wasn't trusting. He was not trusting what was going to happen. And to be honest, it was bad because, I mean, that pick, that pick was still – everybody keeps saying, well, so-and-so ran the wrong route. But the whole thing is that safety hooked up under in that inside zone. When he
the leverage wasn't there, even if the route was ran properly.
Yeah.
The jersey
You
is
shouldn't
white.
have thrown it. You shouldn't have thrown it.
He shouldn't have thrown it. The jersey's white. There was no way he was going to get that to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's things he was doing last year. And the thing is, we took a step up in competition this week. And I'm not trying to bury him, but it's like what I was hoping to see for Grant Wells, because he was named the starting quarterback, was when we took the step up, we wouldn't see the bad interception. There were two of them. There were two bad interceptions because the first one was just a bad throw. The second one, there were two guys open up the seam. Watch that. Watch those play again. There were two guys open. He threw it to the guy who was significantly covered. And I'm sitting here, and it's like, we're going to talk about it in a little while here, but it's like you're reverting back. You're reverting back. This team is better skill-wise. It's better pass protection-wise. The run game still ain't there, but pass protection has went up significantly. Siegler, you and Brian were talking about that. Like we're looking better. Like we can hold a pocket. Right. So now we're getting to that point. It's like if you're reverting back to your old ways.
I mean, Curtis, you were very heavy before the season started, talking about we can't go 1-1 with the picks. Like that ratio can't be 1-1. How many touchdowns and how many picks did he have Saturday?
2 touchdowns.
2 to 2. You just can't do it.
And that one pick was literally in the red zone.
Yeah, it's set up another touchdown.
I think I can't remember if they got a touchdown or
that was a touchdown because it was about 3 plays later.
The first one was a touchdown because they got it. I think 18 by the time we made the tackle there.
Yeah, they were inside the red zone.
And then they turned that around quick. Like thankfully we held on, and that other one coming out of halftime didn't really bury us, but it definitely took an opportunity that we could have took the momentum in the game.
We had it,
and we lost that opportunity.
We had the momentum coming out of half.
Oh yeah,
we scored 17 straight in 6 minutes.
Yep. And then we get the ball, and we got the ball coming out of half.
Got the ball coming out of half.
You blew all of your momentum in one fell swoop. And then it became a grind fest the entire third quarter.
And then the one that he missed, the second one was a throw to Felton that was high and behind. He's 6'5", man. And you got to understand he's running. Wells has been starting for 4 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he was a freshman, I would be like, hey, this is a learning curve for him. Like he knows
first season starting, even if he wasn't a freshman, it's gonna be some growing pains, right?
We get it, but this is his 4th season starting, man, and you got to know where to put the ball. You got to know what plays cannot be made. You got to know where you are in the game, and I hate to say that we're putting that on him, but you think about what Texas did going down to Alabama and Tuscaloosa. That is a hard place to win, and Texas's quarterback, the Quinn kid. Again, it's different skill level, of course. I understand that. But they were playing against a different skill level as well than we are.
Yes, they were.
But he goes down there, man, and you just got to have some nuts about you. And when the game time comes, when it comes time to win the game, like y'all will see when we go to our picks, I picked Texas to win. Because last year, he gave them all they could handle till he got hurt. When he got hurt, it was over. This year he came back. He was coming back for blood, and I feel like Wells just doesn't have that little bit of last umph about him. Like, hey, last year y'all counted me out. I did everything I needed to do to be the starter this year. I did everything to be the captain this year. I'm gonna carry this team to win. I didn't see him getting in people's ass on the sideline. I didn't see him rallying his troops. It was just like he just came and kind of stood by himself. You know, threw a pick. Fuck. That's it. That's what we get. So, again, I don't want to stay on him because people think I hate Grant Wells, and I really don't. I think he's a good kid.
Yeah. I think he's a good guy. I just think the limitations are what they are. And right now, the limitations of what we need, it's not going to go. I need more aggression than Starbucks. In some locations, absolutely. Some people will throw an elbow at you. I'm going to call
Gaskins Road, baby.
Gaskins Road. You absolutely. I think the dang gum line will get wrapped around the door in a heartbeat. 2 pieces here. I'm going to go to defense next, but I got 2 pieces I want to kind of put on the coaching. First one, we came out slow again. Both sides of the ball. That shit's got to stop. That shit's got to stop.
Yep.
And I don't know what the coaches have to do. I don't know what they have to do to get the players jazzed up. I mean, I'll say this. Coming back out of that break, the players seemed more jazzed than they were at the beginning.
It was a little different. It was a little different.
Especially on defense.
Now, game 1, they were too jazzed up.
Yeah.
They were through the roof. So the coaching staff needs to find a happy medium to say
even keel.
Even keel.
Even keel. Not too high, not too low. You got to find that even keel. Shout out to Marty Favret because that was something he always preached. Even keel.
Yeah, you gotta have a healthy balance of like chaos and even keelness, I guess you can say. Like you gotta know that when I step on the field and I'm prepared and I know what I'm doing, but it's a fucking football game going on.
Yeah,
you know. And sometimes we just look like a deer in headlights out there at different positions, you know. But I agree, took too long to, you know. Purdue, you know, they came out the first drive and walked down the field.
Firing.
You know?
They
did
came out
whatever they wanted.
Firing. They came out firing.
Yep.
Now, the other piece I want to talk about, and I think this is one, no one will know the story. Maybe one day we'll have the pleasure of talking with somebody off record or bring them on here. The timing of when they put Kyron Drone in 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Now, to me, it went bad because the way he looked, if he would have came in the third quarter or even the early part of the fourth quarter, we might have got a couple scores because up to that point, we had 5 drives. Y'all know how many yards we had in 5 drives?
Probably 30.
63. Not as bad as you think.
It felt like 30.
One drive in less than 2 minutes, he put 49 on the board. One drive, 49 yards.
It's the same players.
There was exactly. Actually, he did it without Daquan Wright. Sorry, I just hit the mic there.
He did Daquan Wright. And Lane was out too, right?
Huh?
Lane was out too.
Lane was not in there. So he went 49 yards real quick. But and it's more of the bad because of could he have come in earlier? Because, Tally, you noticed when Grant came off on the drive before, you were like, Grant's not feeling right.
Yeah.
Because you saw him limping. I didn't see it because you told me.
Yeah, he was limping, man. I was telling people after the game, I was like, that kid is hurt. You know, I'm all about having heart, but if you go back and you look at it, like right before halftime, he went in early. He was hurting then. And I don't know if it just, you know, got worse or he had got it taped and the tape started coming loose or what. I don't know what was going on, but more and more in that second half, man, he was hurt. And I think that's part of the reason why when he threw that pick coming out of halftime, he couldn't push. You know, he couldn't push off of his back foot or his back ankle. So, again, not trying to make excuses for him, but when we're talking about the timing of Kyron Drones going in, I mean, essentially, I'm not the coach, but essentially, you got a 0-0 game and you got the ball. And if you got a kid that's hurt, you know, or even if you don't think he's that hurt, you're all right, you the captain, you ready to go? Yes, sir, I can go. And you go in and throw a pick. No, you need to sit down for a minute. Let's figure out what's going on with you. Let's see what your body. Like, there is no. It's going to be pressure, but that pressure is a lot different than going in down 7 with 2 minutes to go. So
when I knew it was something a little bit off was when he climbed the pocket that one time, and there was 20 yards
Oh
of
my
green
God.
grass in front of him,
We're not
and he
talking about that.
reset like he was going to try to throw it, and then like half-ass was able to try to get a few yards there. And I was like, something's not right there. 'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
no, he
that's
That
found,
was
something.
in the game.
he
though.
found the defender. It's
Yeah.
what he did.
The
He
whole
was-
thing is, you talk about 20 yards. We're at what, the 42? You're inside the 20 there.
Yeah, you're in field
That's
goal
probably
range.
field-
You're
you're
taking the
field goal
lead
range.
at
we
that
take
point.
the lead.
and I 100% believe we take the lead there. That game's over. We had scored the last 17. We had pretty much the momentum. Our defense was pretty jacked. We to Grant Wells, to give him his props, like we were moving the ball. I think Gosnell caught a long pass and got some yards out the catch there on that drive. We were driving the ball down the field, and if you think about before that play, though, Brian, before he goes to play where he plays hide and seek in an open field and stands and goes, "Hey, it's me." Before that play, they tried to run like a speed option, and he just couldn't get to the end. He had some lanes to get through. It essentially looked like the play where QP ran against North Carolina, and he put his foot in the ground and took off. Wells couldn't put his foot in the ground. Yeah. He put his foot in the ground and failed. Like I was like, he's hurt. He's hurt.
There was a lane, because there was a lane right next to Parker right there, because that defender went with best. I think it was a steal. Is it going to be 35, 40 yards with Grant? Probably not. Is it going to be a probably 10, 15-yard game? Yeah.
Maybe.
Because he had a lane.
Yeah.
All right, let's flip over to defense, because they are not getting away with this. We love them to death. They played their nuts off from the first quarter until the next to last drive. The first one, y'all screamed about it more than me. Man, that was some terrible tackling. I don't know how many missed tackles we had that we still somehow – I didn't realize this until I re-looked up the stats today. We still held them under 4 yards a carry with all those crap tackles.
And their running back ran hard, man. 45 with that ugly-ass number ran hard.
Fullback number.
And he wasn't like super big. He wasn't super skilled. It didn't look like, no disrespect to him, but it's not like he was juking people out of their shoes or nothing. He just ran hard, and we was missing tackles. Like you can't get somebody, for a 2-yard gain and let them get a 5-yard gain, or you can't get somebody in the backfield and then they turn it into a 5-yard gain. Like that's losing football. We got to learn how to play winning football. You got to make that tackle.
Yeah, I mean, he showed some moves. I mean, he had a little bit of that Sam Rogers running style, like a taller Sam Rogers.
They call him crazy legs.
Yeah.
Did you hear him calling him that?
Yeah, like when he planted, it was like real awkward, but I mean, it was effective.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to wrap up and get him down to the ground. Like, I mean, that's the thing here. I mean, if you wrap up and drive through him, what he's doing don't matter.
Right.
Keep to your technique and finish.
That's very true. Now, the last piece, and pressure was there all day on Purdue's quarterback. We were getting through their offensive line. We only wound up with 2 sacks, but they've got to finish, because it was more than a couple times they had card down for sacks or tackle for losses. It's now, I'm going to say this, compared to last year, it's improved.
Yeah.
But these guys are we're beating offensive lines. We're beating offensive line. I know Purdue's line was a little bit beat up, but we're beating offensive lines to get those sacks. And Brian, what can be done? What do you feel like can be talked to about them about that? Because it's like, you're right there. Take the gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is like being a little bit more disciplined in the pass rush lane, because I think sometimes we're getting there, but we're not getting there in a disciplined way. So if we mind the pass rush lanes, I think we won't have those open spots where guys can step up, step to the right, step to the left, kind of evade the rush and make the play. We're getting close enough, but if we can have that equal pressure across the line, he won't be able to step up away from where the pressure's coming from. He won't be able to step to the side from where the pressure's coming from. So I think that consistency could help.
Tally, anything you got on that?
Yeah, pretty much what Brian said and agreed. You want to constrict the area that he has back there. You don't want our two outside guys to rush in and run by him, and then our inside guys be too tight, so it leaves a lane. You really want that whole line to know, okay, I know what he's doing, so I have to keep this lane right here. And I want to keep this arm free because he's going to have this gap. So it's just like you said, playing with each other and knowing your fits. I'm glad to see us getting to the quarterback because it looked like a lot of times last year we couldn't do that at all. So it comes down to us just working together, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you want to get a sack, but we want the team to get a sack. So if you miss it, we know the next guy's got it. So I think that's what we got to get better at.
Absolutely. All right. So there's all that went bad. I don't know how long that segment went compared to the previous segment. It was longer, in my opinion, because we kept talking. But now we're going to flip on.
Us keep talking? No fucking way.
No way. First of all, Tally, I got to ask because Andretti noticed it here. He's feeling the hat. Did you purchase that this weekend?
I did. Alumni Hall, man. I went to Alumni Hall and I seen it and I was like, yep, that's my hat for this weekend. I actually got another one as well. So I got a couple of different hats, but this was the one that I wore to the game. And the first one that I bought when I got there Friday night. They got a lot of cool stuff there, man. I mean, I know they got them online too. I've seen them online, but I didn't know I was going to like it as much as I did until I seen it in person. So I was like, yeah, let me get that. Let me grab it, man.
I like that hat because it's almost like a throwback to like the 90s script style. I love that.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a real quick one. Did anything happen we were not prepared for?
The whole fucking day.
Whole fucking day.
Tornado.
No more. I mean, I'm not saying anything because everything that happened then happened to the kids on the field.
Yeah.
The whole day.
Yeah. It was a lot.
It
was a lot going on.
Oh my God. Well,
you know what I'm saying?
When we're sitting around, we're trying to figure out because it's like Tally got a 7-hour drive back to Alabama, and he's like, man, if I'm gonna make it to Bristol tonight, I need to at least like leave by 10, maybe 9. Yeah. We're sitting here like, if we want to get back to Richmond before 2-3 in the morning, like what time are we gonna kick? So we're all around, all different sorts of places. It was the entire day, and you could only think about what was going through the kids. So usually this one will be better, but for Saturday, whole day, nobody was prepared for all that stuff.
Yeah. No, it was a lot, man. It was a lot. And then it's just being your mindset is, I'm getting there. We've all been to games. I'm getting there. I'm going to tailgate a little bit. I'm going to go in the game. I'm going to watch a game. I'm going to holler at my boys. Then I'm going to head home. None of that happened that way. It was like you got there, you got ready to play. It started raining. You didn't know what to do. You get pushed out into the under the bleachers, and the police is coming through saying you got to leave, you got to get out. And we like, no, we're not going out in that.
I ain't going in that. Oh my God!
The entire day was nuts. And then sitting around looking at Curtis and Brian like, what do we do? Do we wait and see? Well, it's going to be updated at 3. It's going to be updated at 3:30. It's going to be updated at 4. Are they going to start at 7? It's like we just didn't know, man. But through all that, I can say like it was an awesome day. Through all of that, even though we lost, like it was awesome to be in Blacksburg. It was awesome to get the seats we had. But yes, I'm gonna stop it right there. That the entire day was, we didn't know none of that was gonna happen.
None of it.
And it wasn't just I plan to do this and that, and I'm not gonna get to all of that. Like that's every time you go. You always overplan.
Always.
Right. When you go to a game, like, all right, I'm gonna make this tailgate. I'm gonna go by this bar for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. Then I'm gonna go into the stadium at like 11:30. Like you make all those plans, all those grand plans, but you might get to do half of that.
Yep.
Because like everything takes a little bit longer than you think it is, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
It wasn't just that; it was everything else on top of that.
Everything else. All right, y'all. We got to talk about this real quick, and I'm gonna start it. I got the rundown a little different, but what we can do better moving forward. I'm gonna start at the bottom here because Coach Prime mentioned it in his presser about there has been hot conversation about offensive line rotation. And Brian, you wrote this on here, and like, what do you feel like we need to see right now?
Honestly, and I mean, as much as I feel like he had a little bit of a redemption tour this offseason, we got to do something at right tackle. Because as decent of strides as he's made to at least get back from a PFF standpoint in the ballpark of where he was at 2 years ago with pass pro, it's still regression in the run blocking. And it's not just the physicality piece of it. We're talking mental mistakes. We're talking execution errors. This is something that a 3-year starter should not be. It should not be happening to them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like Siegler said, it's just not physicality. It's running behind your own guard, and standing there, just stuff like that, man. Like, we got to see. I don't know, man. You got to put some urgency on these boys. For
All
real.
Right, let's do this.
I'd like to see Jack at center and maybe move Caden back to guard too. So, I mean, I think we can play around with some stuff to maybe find something else that works to create a little more balance.
Yeah.
Because if we can't start running the ball effectively, whether it's by a quarterback change, where it's an O-line shuffle, whatever we need to do, we've got to spark some sort of rushing efficiency. We don't have to be great. We don't have to go out there and be over 150 every game, but we need to be at least approaching that every game.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree with that tenfold. And I think what you just said about, is it the Holyfield move in the center, let Caden go back to more of a natural guard spot? People are getting, they're throwing him about those snaps. He's had some low ones. He has had some struggles. He's had some good moments. But the thing is, if that's Jack Holyfield's natural position, you put Caden back at his natural position at right. And then I'm going to say it. Y'all tell me I'm crazy. Oh, my God, Pat.
Well, welcome, Pat.
Get out of here, Pat.
Welcome, Pat.
Get out of here, Pat.
I mean, Greg Boone 2.0, the Wild Turkey.
Wild Turkey 2.0.
Hey, if it'll get us some rushing yards right now, maybe we need to try it.
We can try it. But what I think also, if you kick Caden Moore back out to right guard, do you try Brody Meadows? Because I think the times we've seen Brody on the field, Brody does have a little nasty streak to him.
Put him at tackle, right tackle?
Yeah. Again, the thing
So we got to – all you're saying is we got to try something.
We got to try shit. You got to try something.
Because what we doing, it ain't working.
All right. I'm going to let y'all boys do this next one. Real easy. What must we do better when other teams run the ball at us?
Tackle them.
Wrap them up.
Wrap them
Get
up.
them down.
Wrap them up. Take them down.
We ain't going to say no more on that.
Yeah.
Because I think what we saw from week 1 to week 2 in the run fits, like they got that adjusted. Probably a big piece was Tisdale being at Mike a lot, the older guy in the room. Coach mentioned that. But that got better. We got to get to tackling better. Yeah. I got a feeling they're gonna be chasing the giant donut around the drill fields and in the Beamer barn this week.
Yeah.
Tackle, get them down. All right, but the big one is, and we've mentioned it, we've got to get better rushing the ball. We talk about the offensive line. Brian, you've mentioned a couple times. You mentioned it last week, and I think on a couple plays we saw it where if we did have the wider receiving alignments, it would open up the rushing lanes. But I'm just gonna y'all say it because we've led up to this point. And whichever one of y'all want to lead, and I'm agreeing with y'all. We talked about it already.
Go ahead.
This seems to be your bag, man.
Well, when you think about we gotta create something. You know what I'm saying? And teams are starting to load the box and they're starting to get in there tight. So why not spread it out? If you can spread it out, and again, when you talk about, I'll say it, when you talk about when Drones got in the game and then that lane did open up, he took it and ran for about 15 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You got to understand, he ran for just about more yards than we had the whole game on that one run. And I'm not saying that he's God or he needs to be the starter and this and that. I'm telling you, we got to do some things different. We're going to have to get them out of the box. Spreading them out a little bit will help us do that. Now, spreading them out a little bit and then hitting some receivers is going to help as well. But I think it does open up some run lanes as well. Give me drones for QB1 this week. That's what I want.
Yep. That's what I want to. And I think the big thing to me, Tally, you kind of alluded to it, but I mean, I'll kind of underscore it here. Decisiveness. Like whether he hit or missed, he did it with confidence and decisiveness. If we can get that to work more consistently, then we might be onto something.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I agree, Donald. I mean, I agree. Just to give ourselves a chance, especially this week. This week, I think if Grant is
at least see what you got, especially with Grant's at least banged up. So he's not going to be whatever the best version of Grant Wells is. Whatever we would get against Rutgers, we're not getting that this week.
We're not getting this week.
So
but the whole
drones in there. See if you can scheme up some different things to get this offensive run game going, and give them your best fucking shot.
But I'll say it, and I'll say it again. I've said it to y'all, and this has been my big thing. The quarterback has to run the ball. The quarterback has to pull on those RPOs. That quarterback starts pulling. That linebacker that was in the gap that Parker missed, you know what? He might be taking side steps, and the next thing you know, Bashiel's actually got a lane to still go to.
And somebody brought up a good point. Somebody brought up a good point. I think it was Billy Ray, actually, in one of the spaces, when he says, I don't know if they are giving them an option to pull the ball. I don't know if they're just telling them to line up and hand it off. We don't know. I hope that ain't what we're doing.
I hope not.
But if somebody knows Tyler Bourne, call him tonight. What is it? It's about 10:30 there. He should be good. He should be good and showered and eating, and fingers are orange from eating Cheetos. Somebody text him and tell him you can't run an RPO unless you give an option. Run pass option. We need some options in there. Stop telling them just to hand the ball off if that's what you do. But that's a good question if they're doing that.
I mean, I'm sure some of those are design runs, and he's carrying out a fake. But that's as a design to set up what you do later in a call, later in a different series, whatever it may be, right? So at some point, some of these reads are not getting read properly, or if it's one of those where it's getting slow played, eventually you got to just see what you do by swinging it out there. See what you do by keeping it. You can't just keep handing the ball off into the gap, especially when we're not blocking it very well up front.
Yeah, no.
We'll see. So again, we all think it's got to happen. We think we flipped a counter on drones this week. We shall see Saturday at 3:30. Big Ten Network, I think, is what it's on.
Sounds right.
That sounds right.
All right. Well, before we get to know the enemy, and that is of Rutgers, we do have some ads from our digital partners and Main Street Pharmacy.
I can probably save you a lot of money, and I can take a lot better care of you. That's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy Counts, and I'm a pharmacist. I own and operate Main Street Pharmacy here in downtown Blacksburg. My brother's a pharmacist, I'm a pharmacist, my uncle's a pharmacist, my dad's a pharmacist. I remember he would give me M&Ms to count in little pill counters. This is just something I've always done, and I'm just lucky that what I know so well is something that I can do and feel good about it and give back to people. Pharmacies are your frontline defense. Pharmacy's job is to make sure you're getting optimal care for the lowest price possible. Also, we take the pressure off of emergency rooms. I'll tell people immediately when they need to go to the doctor, or I'll tell them if they just need a cream over the counter. If there's something that isn't commercially available, if it's something that's not available in a certain strength or a certain form or anything like that, we'll make it. Tailor-made medications. Some of those options save people a lot of money. What motivates me? I get to take care of people and live in Blacksburg. That's all I need.
As we take a quick break, we'd like to tell you about getting your free website report from our digital partner, Grassroots Digital Marketing Studio. They'll tell you how your website ranks on Google, on-site SEO, and social media. No commitment to buy anything. You can get your free report by visiting grassrootsdigitalstudio.com/free-website-report. Now back to the episode.
All righty, and we are back to Know the Enemy. Let's talk about Rutgers a little bit. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Mr. Siegler, let's get a little scheme, what they're going to be running.
We should be familiar with this, boys. The little smash mouth spread RPO.
So they run what we want to run.
They run what we want to run. I'll give you a fun fact, too. Kirk Shiraka, the offensive coordinator at Rutgers, was the offensive coordinator at Penn State University when Tyler Bowen was the co-OC in 2020. So we got a little former co-OC battle here. So that's going to be interesting.
Very interesting. Probably know each other like the back of their hand. So
I mean, they at least got to know each other for 1 year. So they kind of know probably tendencies to a point. But I mean, Shiraka's offense, I mean, it's a balanced attack. They're pretty much near even in passing and rushing yardage through 2 games so far. They utilize a athletic dual threat quarterback to enhance their run game. It's going to be design runs, it's going to be RPOs, and it's going to be keepers out of the backfield. When a play breaks down, so you'll see all 3 versions of the quarterback getting into the action there. As far as the passing game, it's a lot of bubble and slip screens, so you're going to see that a lot in the passing game. They will go vertical, but they're going to use that lateral stuff to kind of set all that up. And their RPO is also very slant heavy, so they will use the RPO anywhere on the field. It's not just a red zone or scoring area type of play for them. It's something that they'll use anywhere on the field. And it's very, very much slant heavy. They don't run a whole lot of other variations of the RPO in that offense. So
Tyler, don't let them come out and run our shit better than us and beat us this weekend. All right. Come on, man. Let's get some nuts together today or this weekend. Going into talking about the enemy a little bit, I'll go first. Just introducing their running back. Looks like he is a junior. Number 5, Kyle Monaga. I guess that's his last name.
I think it's Benanga. I'm not sure.
Manunga.
Yeah.
Something crazy, but anyway.
Guess what, Tally? I butchered more names on this program than anybody.
Yeah.
Time won't be the last.
Yeah,
Curtis and butchering names is like this, man. You good?
I watched him, man. They use him a little bit out of the backfield. He is about a 5'9", 200 pound, or about a 205, 210 running back. Class of 2020, a Don Briscoe prep product. He was a low 3-star, about an 82. Offers from Rutgers, Air Force, Army, and Buffalo. Looks like the only offers that he had coming out of high school. He's got about 200 yards this year, averaging about, I think, 214, something like that. He's averaging about 5 yards a carry, and he is catching the ball out of the backfield as well. So might have a hands full with him. Just them using him in a couple of different ways. What you got on him, Sieg?
Yeah, man. I mean, he's a running back, runs with good balance. I mean, you talked about his kind of credentials there. This is a classic Shiano development type project that's really turned into a pretty solid playmaker. He'll shake off tackles if you don't wrap, kind of like we saw with Maccabee. So expect a little bit more of that. Got to wrap up, bring down. Good vision and patience at the point of attack, which you need that in the smash mouth spread there, especially with the RPO elements thrown in there. And he's used in the passing game, like Tally, you alluded to, mostly on kind of swings and wheels. There's not a ton else. It's usually going to be something on the perimeter, or they'll slip him out of the backfield a little bit. But they're not throwing screens to him. All the screens are pretty much exclusively to the wideouts.
Yeah, and I will say his long this year is about 25 yards. So he's not a super burner, but they are using him as their primary back to get those tough yards.
Well, they're using them what they're supposed to use them for. If you told us right now 5 looks great, you told us 4 right now, we'd be the happiest fan base in the country.
Oh, yeah,
4 yards to carry, let's give it to us.
Right.
Because, Brian, you mentioned up at the beginning, they are a pretty balanced team if you look across their stat lines. Mm-hmm. And one guy who has reaping the benefits of that is Jaquay Jackson 6'2", 190-pound wide receiver out of Sierra Catholic in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was a Division II transfer from California, Pennsylvania University. Look that up. It is a real university. I'm not making it up. And while he was there last year with that school, 1,178 yards, 13 touchdowns on 77 receptions in his senior year there. He transferred up. And so far this year, first game didn't do much against Rutgers, lit it up last week against Temple. 4 catches, 95 yards, including a long one of 65 yards. What are we seeing? What is this one all about?
Yeah, man. Like you said, he's a transfer in. He's got really good hands. I like the way he uses his hand. He catches the ball real well in traffic. He is a threat in the intermediate levels. He can go a little deep on you. Threat with the screen. But I think the biggest attribute he has is that he catches the ball well in traffic and can go after some jump balls as well.
Yeah. And, he's definitely not the only guy. He's sort of the smaller guy because we kind of look across it. Look at Isaiah Washington.
Right.
I just got to step away just for a second here. Isaiah Washington is another one of their leading receivers. He's 6'3", 200+ pounds.
Yeah.
Big guy.
Big dude.
Five catches, close to 60 yards. And the whole thing is a lot of these guys for Rutgers right now, they're seasoned.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jackson, tons of time down at D2. So he's got the experience there. And I know people can say, well, that's the lower level. You know what? That's one of the best things about the Portland transfers thing it is.
Right.
You've got a guy who's at a lower level can come up and play. Washington's been down at Rutgers since 19. So the one thing I'm not seeing, and Brian really didn't mention much of it, is you're not seeing a lot from them as far as passing game goes.
Right.
Like they're staying balanced, but they are skewing more towards the run game.
Yeah. I've been seeing that as well.
So, and the thing is, they've been playing defense. They've also, and Callie, I don't know if this is possible. Did you know they've played 2 offenses worse than the Hokies?
I didn't think it was possible. I really didn't think that was possible.
So a lot of people are concerned, like this is a really good defense, and it's like they've been playing. They play Temple and they play Northwestern. Listen, Temple can be up and down. Yeah. And what's going on at Northwestern right now?
Oh yeah, you expected them to have a rough year.
Oh my God! Like
people transferring out, the coach gets in trouble. You got people talking about a dick car wash. I don't know what all of that stuff. Like you expected them to have a rough year, so that's kind of crazy. I was looking at their stuff as well. When you talk about just their wide receivers to their running backs, getting to, I guess I'll go ahead and get into the next player that we're talking about, the quarterback. We talked about wide receiver, we talked about running back. Their quarterback, Gavin Wimsatt, looks like he is a 4-star. He was a 4-star quarterback out of Kentucky, Owensboro, Kentucky. So I'm not sure what that is, but he was a 4-star 2021 kid, and he had tons of offers from different places. He was a projected like 4th to 7th round guy. They were kind of comparing him to a Jason Stidham. Jared Stidham. So
Auburn quarterback.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a ball player. He can run it. He can throw it. Looking at him, he's about 6'3", 200 pounds, so good size kid. But kind of what me and Curtis were talking about, they are really balanced as far as running and throwing. Their number 1 receiver has about 90 yards or 91 yards. Of course, we talked about the running back. Wimsatt has about 360 yards, 2 touchdowns this year. So not a ton of touchdowns in the air, not a ton of yards. And for comparison purposes, Grant Wells has 494 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Wimsett doesn't have any interceptions, but again, it doesn't look like he's throwing the ball 50 times. He's 27 for 50 this year. So, Brian, you got anything on him?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at him, he's a really good athlete. He can make plays with his legs. Makes really decisive reads when they have that RPO, and that's really what kind of gets that offensive going, is that he knows how to make the decisive reads, get the ball to where it needs to be, whether it's keep it, whether it's hand it, whether it's throw it. He's usually making the right choice there. Not shocking in a Schiano coach team. I mean, they're going to be mostly pretty disciplined across the board, and it's going to start with the quarterback position as well. He's accurate enough in the short to intermediate game for what they do. He will miss some open receivers from time to time. He's not always accurate, but throws a pretty good deep ball, though. He can push it down the field when he needs to. And some of the design runs are drawn up for him, but most of his yards are going to be off the RPO and the scrambles. It's not going to be necessarily something that's designed specifically for him to rush the ball.
Well, and as soon as he said it, Tally, I kind of sunk, because it's that he's a quarterback that makes decisive decisions in the RPO. And when you hear that, that's why they're having success. Even though the numbers aren't there, you probably know they're pushing the ball downfield. They're playing defense. They're probably getting first downs. They're not doing anything spectacular, but they're not losing games.
Yep, complimentary football.
And complimentary football. Oh, my goodness. Well, let's flip over. Let's talk to the last piece, as we always do, and let's talk about the offensive line. Brian said he took a look and he felt like big number 72, Holland Pierce, is the kind of the anchor of that line. 6'8", 230 pounds. Boys, he was 6'8", 320 coming out of high school just a couple years ago. Guess how many offers he had?
33.
0. He did the Blutarski. 0.0 offers other than Rutgers. That was it. He went down to Fuma for a year, transferred back in. And now, Brian, what is he doing on that offensive line, and what do they look like?
He's their right tackle. He's probably overall the best player from a balance perspective, pass versus run. He doesn't really have a weakness. He's not necessarily elite. You wouldn't call him an elite right tackle, but he is very solid in both aspects there. Overall for the line, I mean, they're slightly better than Purdue. They're not a significantly big jump, but they're more disciplined and sound than Purdue was. You're not going to get a big mistake from them like you would against Purdue or an ODU. Overall, solid rushing attack. And they will allow some penetration on those run plays, though. So we do have a chance to pitch them for some negative plays. And that's going to be important, getting them behind the sticks and making Wimsett have to throw from the pocket a little bit more and not be able to kind of attack us with the RPO as much. And we talk about pressures. They've only allowed a sack on Wimsett once this year, but he's been pressured a ton. So if we can keep that up and keep the consistent pressure that we've seen so far, even though we didn't necessarily get home a lot against Purdue, if we can keep that pressure consistent, that's going to make it a little more difficult for him.
There's one concern I have about that, Brian, and that is going to be we're going to have to stay in our lanes. Because obviously, Tally, you mentioned a kid getting that many offers and that athletic, he's going to break contain, and he's going to go upfield.
Yeah.
And he's athletic enough to get not Hudson Card got 5-6 yards a couple times. Yeah. It's going to be 25-30.
Yeah.
Brian, let me ask both y'all this, because Callie, you read up on him, looked at a little tape. Brian, you obviously looked at a little more tape too. Are we going to have to spy him with somebody? Would you?
I think you have to on obvious passing downs. I don't think you spy him every play, but you spy him on obvious passing downs.
Yeah, because he's a threat to pick up the first down with his legs.
I'm more scared of his legs than his arm. Now, he can beat you with his arm, but I'm more scared in those long yardage situations of, a guy drops back, he hits a good pass that's open. You can live with that. What you hate is having really good coverage and then the quarterback break contain and get a first down on a 3rd and long, because that pisses you off, that frustrates you. I know they're both first downs, but it doesn't seem to hurt as bad from a mentality standpoint of a defense when you do all the things right and they still get a first down versus when you kind of let something slip by and all of a sudden the guy takes off and he gets a first down with his legs.
Right.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's the offense and some names to know and things to look for. Let's flip over to the defense. And, Brian, what we got scheme-wise going on here?
This one's kind of familiar, too. We got a 4-2-5 with a true nickel package.
Mm.
Well, Shiano's done that for years, so that doesn't shock me.
That doesn't shock you at all. I mean, they're not overly impressive, but they are extremely sound. Like, nothing about them necessarily jumps off the tape, but they don't fuck up a lot. You're not going to catch them out of position very often. You're not going to see them blow a ton of coverage. You're not going to get those big chunk plays because of something they did wrong. You've got to do something right. So that's going to be the big thing. But to that point, they haven't really been tested much this year. I mean, they played Northwestern that's in a fucking crisis mode, and then they played Temple that barely got past Akron. So I'm not really from a test standpoint, they haven't really been pushed yet. Hopefully we can at least do that in the passing game, give them a little bit of fit there. And they do have, like I said, they do have a true nickel package. It's actually a 3-3 stack with the tight look of their DNs there. So very similar to what we've seen from Purdue and from ODU the last 2 weeks when they go into that nickel package.
Yeah, and some of their players that we'll talk about, I guess I'll talk about the first player that should be very familiar to a lot of Virginia Tech fans, Tyreen Powell. He was actually committed to Virginia Tech and flipped, I think, on early signing day.
Yeah.
He is a New Jersey kid. He only had 3 offers from what they're reporting. It was Virginia Tech, it was Rutgers, and it was Temple. He was about listed at high school there in New Jersey, but they've got him listed now at 6'5", 245. So that's a big guy. You know what I'm saying? Looking at his production, I think he's averaging around 8 tackles a game. So not crazy numbers, but
steady.
He is around the football. And like you said, he's steady. Last year he had about 70 tackles. I think he had about 3 sacks. I got to go back and check that for sure. But I know he had about 70 tackles last year. So he flies around the field that we'll have to account for on their defense playing linebacker. Brian, what you got on him?
Yeah, I mean, he plays that will or backer spot in that 4-2. He's really great in pursuit. That's really probably his bread and butter. Sometimes he does lose coverage responsibility, contain responsibility because of that overzealousness to kind of get in that pursuit angle. Really good gap discipline in the run game. So if it's not a contained position, he does a good job of getting his fits on the interior there, making plays at the line of scrimmage. And they will occasionally bring him on pressure, sometimes up the middle, sometimes off the edge. So he is a pretty proficient pass rusher as well from that blitzing linebacker position. So kind of hurts you in a lot of different ways, but again, kind of like the defense, not elite, but pretty sound and a good ball player overall.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, let's go from the linebacker room. Let's go up to the defensive line, because someone that just looking around, looking at his background, kind of stood out to me was Renee Conga. Renee Conga, a 2020 commit from Canada. He was considered the best high school prospect in Canada when he came out. 6'4", about 290 pounds. And this season, not looking everything, but sometimes when you don't see a lot of stats, but you see something like he's already got a forced fumble, he's got a sack, another tackle for loss, a total of 5 tackles. I want to know, I wanted Brian to look at him to figure out, okay, where's he playing and what's he doing? Because just reading about him, it's like he seems like a pretty athletic guy, because he came out at only 240 and now he's already up to 290. What is he doing, Brian?
Yeah, he's actually their primary interior defensive tackle. He plays that 2-eye technique in their base package. He'll slide to the 0 and nickel.
Interesting.
Yeah, deceptively quick with the motor. You know, you said he's up to 290 now. He's probably plays about 10 pounds lighter as far as his speed and quickness. And he occupies blockers pretty well, considering he's undersized for probably an interior lineman, probably just a little bit under what you would expect there. But like I said, occupies blockers well, and hopefully we can handle him in there in the middle. But they do rotate their interior linemen a lot. So we'll see if they end up, how many snaps he gets in this game.
Well, I find it interesting to hear a guy playing, and I know it's their nickel set, so they're probably doing it for schematic reasons. But to play a guy that's 6'4", 290-ish on a 0, to play him over top of the center, I mean, what are they trying to do with that?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to the nickel unless they're trying to get after the passer. So, I mean, he's a guy, like I said, with his motor and his skill set, he can get by interior linemen pretty quick and make that play. So that's really what it's all about, getting kind of those mismatches on the interior for pass rush purposes.
Nice. All right, we'll look at one additional guy on the defensive side of the ball, and that is the defensive back, Flip Dixon. Flip Dixon, also known as Michael Dixon if you're trying to look him up. He was an original commit to Minnesota. He was ranked an 87 as he came out of high school, ranked as an 87 when he hit the portal, transferring from Minnesota over to Rutgers. And so far in his career, 59 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, only 1 pick, 5 pass deflections. So obviously, not getting a ton of PT his first 3 seasons, finally seeing the field more this year than he had any previous year. What are we taking a look at when we take a look at this guy, 6'2", 210 pounds? Where does he play exactly, Brian, in the defensive secondary? Number 10.
Yeah, let's start with his name. He sounds like somebody's uncle, right? Like,
Yeah,
Flip Dixon.
Flip.
But no, he plays boundary safety. Not used a ton in man coverage, mostly kind of read and react zone type of a safety there. Really great in run support. He comes up, makes plays at or near the line of scrimmage very well. But where I've seen some weakness in his game is that he can get turned around if there's a double move or something where you can get him kind of lean in one way and then change direction. Doesn't change direction as well as you'd probably like him to, but he's really good at diagnosing and kind of coming up and making plays. So if he's moving forward, he's a danger. If you get him backpedaling a little bit, you can probably get a little bit of run against him.
Good deal. So again, there's what you're looking at. You're kind of looking at a very similar type defense that you see with the Hokies every week. And there are some players there, obviously, that you should be on the lookout for while watching the game. Well, next thing we're going to do, boys, we got 4 of them here. Somebody's taking 1, somebody's taking 2. We got the Hokies keys to victory. Tally, you see them all up there. We talked about them. Which one are you strongest towards on this?
The number one that we have on there, I think it's number 1 in our hearts and mind right now. Don't let their quarterback kill us with his legs. As a Hokie fan, how many games have we watched that usually it's a backup quarterback that comes in and freaking kills us with his legs? We got to be disciplined. We got to stay in our gaps. We got to get home when we can get a sack. We cannot let their quarterback kill us with his legs this week. They're going to be amped. They're at home. They got a chance to go 3-0. We got to go in there. We got to go in there and we got to want it. Sometimes going on the road is good for your team because it's just you and the boys and you just pull together and you don't worry about your girlfriend coming over before the game. You don't worry about all the extra stuff. You're all just there with your teammates and it's just y'all against the world. It's just y'all against the fans. They're fans. So I know that the Hokies are going to take some fans up there and we're going to show out like we always do. But
yes, sir.
We cannot let that quarterback kill us with his legs.
Yeah,
All
Billy
right.
Pat and his crew are going to be out there in full force, so it'll be a large contingency at least somewhere in that stadium. Where
Come on, man, represent up there, Billy.
that's
Billy
right.
and them, Darlex going up. I'm sure Kenny going
Yeah.
up too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go flip it and say I'm with you as well, but it's the quarterback on our side. Quarterback has to become part of the run game this week. It's gonna help the offensive line out. It's gonna make that defense make decisions that in the first 2 weeks, because of who they're playing, they've been able to be sound, right, Brian? They have
Yep.
no one that can hurt them. They have no sort of things like that can hurt them.
Mhm.
So I think it's that. Billy, we know you're gonna represent up there, man. We know Billy's gonna be leading the cheers, screaming his lungs out. But we get that quarterback running game going, you're gonna see this offense look different. You're gonna see the line play better, and love it. We gotta do it. We gotta do it. Brian, we'll let you wrap up with 2, man. What's the first one?
yeah. I'm going to say this: we didn't tackle great last week, so this is a team that runs. They run the ball pretty well. They run a lot of screens. You got to stay disciplined. You got to tackle well.
Yeah.
If you don't do those 2 things, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm going to wrap this up with kind of something a little bit similar. We're going to just flip it back, like Curtis said, to the other side of the ball. We got to use scheme. We got to use quick passes to supplement the run game, essentially turning pass plays into run plays. Get the ball into the hands of the receivers, into the hands of the running back quickly in the passing game. Let them make some plays in space. Spread this defense out a little bit so there will be at least a little bit of room to maneuver in the middle of that defense. And, if you do it in a quick way, you're not endangering your quarterback because you're not dropping them back 5 or 7 yards in the pocket and having to sling it every time. If we can get into better those third and manageable situations, you don't get your quarterback killed either, especially when you're probably, as Curtis alluded to, going to be using your quarterback in the run game a little bit more this week.
Right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, boys, we get to where it is every week. It is prediction time. Before we say our prediction, Shelton is not here with us this week, but Shelton has not only made the prediction for this game, he made all the other predictions too when we get to big screeners in a few minutes. And I wish we got to start doing when he can't come on. Shelton, you got to make a 2-minute video, and we're gonna post it on here. We'll write that down as a future thing. But Shelton, I think Shelton was up in the box last week watching the Purdue game. Sheldon's hurting. Shelton's taking the bad guys. He's taking the Scarlet Knights 24-14. Brian, who you got?
Yeah, I think Sheldon watched that offensive line really close this last few days, and I think that's what he's feeling right now. And I don't blame him, but I think Drones comes in and gives the offense a little bit of pop. I think the defense steps up. I think the defense understands the urgency of the situation that we're facing right now. And I think the good guys go up to Piscataway and come away with 124-21.
All righty. I am not far off. Here's why I'm not far off. Because last week on offense, we played a D-. Almost failed. We still within 1 touchdown. Last week, we played a C, maybe C- defensive game. We didn't get home. We missed some tackles. We let screwed up things happen. We played a pretty crappy game overall. We lost by 1 score. First of all, before we do this, Pete B says, no, they're not getting 24. No, Pete, they're not getting 24. Hokies win 2017. Chiron Drones runs for 1 touchdown at least. Tally, we can let you close this one out, man. Where are you?
Oh, I know y'all gonna feel good about this, but I'm taking Rutgers, man. I'm gonna say 28-21 Rutgers. I got them taking it. Now, I'm gonna tell you why I did that. I am going under the assumption that Cunningham knows what he's talking about because he's the one that put out the depth chart, and I got Grant Wells as my QB1 on that depth chart. So I'm going as Grant as the QB1, and I'm going we lose by 1 score because that's what we've been doing in the past. Now, if this game starts and I see Drones in the backfield, I might feel a little different. But I got to go with what I see right now. I got to go with what my man Cunningham said because that's my guy. So I'm going to say Rutgers 28-21.
Me and Brian going hunches, drone starting. Tally says until he sees one taking the first snap under
I gotta
center,
see
he
it.
ain't going over.
Yep. And
He
let's
ain't
go
going
ahead
over.
and let's go ahead and throw the graphic up here so we can take a look at what we got here.
Big screeners, other games going on Saturday. I can't wait. By the way, Tally, I'm heading over to Siegel's house Saturday afternoon. Me, the wife, the kids. He gonna grill us some burgers. He gonna,
Nice.
we gonna watch the game. We gonna have a lot of good fun. And you know what? There you go, right
Thumbing it
there.
up.
That's up first. But the first game we're going to take a look at, Brian, is Brian's big screener of the week because after he kicks me out of his house, probably about 7, because that's when the kid's going to crash, he's going to be turning on NBC Saturday Night Football, Purdue versus Syracuse. Brian, who you taking in this game? Someone we're going to play later or someone you've already seen on the field?
You know what? I was rolling this one back and forth. I think this is a pretty even matchup, just like I think, the matchup last week was. I've got the Boilermakers by that much. So give me Purdue.
Callie, who you got on this one? Purdue or you got the Cuse?
I got the Boilermakers, man. I'm kind of with Brian on this. I think the Boilermakers is gonna pull this one off.
You think the Boilermakers going to pull it off? All righty. I get to go next. I don't think they are. I don't. I honestly don't because they're going to have to bring a lot more. Syracuse has been playing some cream puffs up front. They're going, I believe is this at the Dome or is this in West Lafayette? Let me look here. I just like to know who's playing who,
at
where.
Purdue, I believe.
I think
it is at Purdue. So Brian caught this. He gave me 3 instead of 2.5 to lay or to get, or to lay. Excuse me. But yeah, Purdue to me did not overly impress me. Anyone with a capable offense is going to probably beat them this year, and I think Syracuse is capable enough. Shelton is taken.
Drum roll, Syracuse.
Okay, we 2-2.
All righty. Brian, by the way, do you have our records for last week?
Or can we get those? I thought you grabbed them, but I can grab them. You
grab them while I pull up mine because where I went here, classic rivalry, backyard brawl, Pitt, West Virginia. Game's going to be in Morgantown. This is basically a tight one. It's basically a coin flip. And I'm going to take Pitt because what I've seen of West Virginia this year, they've not been impressive. Pitt hasn't impressed me either, but I think the way it is I think Narduzzi has his guys. Neil Brown, every loss, everybody gets a little less and less involved. We know that feeling. We've been there before. So give me Pitt. Brian, Shelton has
Pitt as well.
All righty. Tally, you gonna make it 3 in a row, or you going oppo?
No, man, I gotta go Pitt on this one, man. I'm gonna go Pitt, and it was hard for me to say that, just because I hate them, but I hate West Virginia as much or more. So I wish they could play a game that nobody wins, but
yes, we do.
I guess somebody gotta win, and I'm gonna take Pitt.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm taking Pitt as well. This line would probably be a lot bigger if it was at Pitt. I mean, I think West Virginia is getting a lot of home loving here. I don't think West Virginia is a very good football team, and I think every game they're playing at this point is whether or not Neil Brown gets closer and closer to getting fired. So Narduzzi is obviously firmly entrenched for the foreseeable future at Pitt. I feel like that's a much more stable situation, and I think they're going to go and handle that game regardless of the raucous environment there in Morgantown.
All righty, so Pitt across the board here. Now, y'all, this is one of those things, you're a college football fan. When you see Florida, Tennessee play, what do y'all know?
They hate each other.
They hate each other. But third Saturday in September, we 3 weeks in the season. Tally, you picking this one. This is going to be, I think, at the Swamp Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Let me confirm that. at the Swamps, and we're gonna have your big screener's gonna be running 3 games in a row right there in the Siegler.
Oh yeah.
Right there. At
Yeah,
the Swamp. Who you got, Tally? This is your game.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Tennessee in that game, man. I think Tennessee is gonna go in there and they're gonna get the win and they're gonna cover.
All righty. Shelton is right along with Tally on that as well. And I'm with you right now. Just Florida has no juice.
Mm-hmm.
Florida has no juice right now. And I don't know. And everybody's talking about, well, Napier's recruiting all these guys. Well, it's Florida. I hope you're recruiting somewhere in the top 10. You're Florida. If you ain't, you're even in bigger trouble.
Yeah, and I mean their NIL situation is in shambles right now with everything that's coming out about that. I don't know if that plays any bearing on this game, but it does play bearing on whether they can kind of continue to pull in those recruits. But I'm right there. I think Tennessee pulls this one out. I think it's about a touchdown game, maybe an 8-9 point game. I don't think it's a blowout, but I think Tennessee handles their business down there.
And my bad, that was Shelton's, not Tally's. Because Tally, this is yours.
Yes, that's mine. And
We
they're
got a big one.
they're giving Ole Miss a lot of points in that game. I don't think Georgia Tech is great, but I hate the SEC and the ACC. We've been holding our own against well, except for UVA. We've been holding our own against the SEC. So I don't think Georgia Tech wins this game, but I think they do cover. I think they may lose by about 10 to 14. But that's where I'm at. I got Georgia Tech.
I'm not far behind you because we took Tulane last week and we lost that bet. But Tulane was playing without a starting quarterback, and they hung on forever and ever, keeping that a 1-score game until finally Ole Miss took it in the end. So I think probably a full stack Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's going to score 20 points in 1 quarter, and that's why we're going to cover right there. They might not do anything before or after, but they're going to score like 20-plus points in 1 quarter.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Sheldon on this one?
Sheldon went Georgia Tech as well.
19.5 is so much to lay.
Yeah, you know what though? There we go. I'm going for it.
So you're going for Ole Miss, huh?
I just don't think. I think at some point the dam's going to break and there's going to be a run. You know, Curtis said Georgia Tech's going to score 20 in 1 quarter. I think there's going to be a quarter where Ole Miss kind of puts a little distance between themselves and Georgia Tech. And
Anybody will do it. Lane will do it. He'll run that score up.
He does not care about that at all. All right, 2 more big games. I wouldn't say big game. This is truly. Have y'all looked at next weekend? Have y'all looked at next weekend yet?
I haven't looked yet. No.
I'm gonna give y'all a second, real quick. Y'all pull up y'all's computers. Go look at next weekend's slate. Week 4, college football. We're a month in. Go look at next weekend's top 25 slate.
Yeah, we're rolling pretty good.
Oklahoma, Cincy,
Colorado, Oregon, Mississippi, Ole Miss, and Alabama.
Arkansas, LSU,
Utah,
Texas, Baylor,
UCLA, yeah.
Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Clemson, FSU. I mean,
UNC Pitt and nothing to sneeze at in the ACC.
Next week is like an appetizer course this week. Next week's insane. And I think my kids are playing both in the middle of the day playing fall ball.
Yeah, I mean this week's slate is a little bit underwhelming, especially after last week.
Oh yeah, 100%. But there are a couple interesting ones here.
There's interesting games. There's not marquee games, but there's interesting games. There's good matchups, even if you're not getting that marquee, 2 ranked opponents, or you got to look at like Curtis, you picked West Virginia Pitt because there's history there. There's not a ton of accolades currently right now, but there's definitely the history there that you can fall back on.
All right, well, let's go to one of those ones that's it's an interconference or an interconference matchup. ACC, Big Ten, Minnesota, North Carolina. Minnesota is 2-0. They've given up 8 points a game, but they're only scoring 19 points a game. Brian, who are you taking on this one?
I got the Tar Heels. I think they got a scare last week, and I think that kind of woke their asses up a little bit. I think they handled their business this week against Minnesota.
Tally, you up next. Who you got?
Man, I gotta go UNC, man. I gotta go UNC when it's hard for me to bet against they've got a really good quarterback. You know, besides whatever else they have, when you have a really good quarterback, it can do a lot of stuff for your team. So I gotta go UNC.
Yep, it's a home game. If it was maybe up in Minnesota, I'd think about taking the points. But in this case, I personally think Carolina is going to absolutely blow the doors off Minnesota. If you told me this was 12.5, I would take 12.5. So give me Carolina as well. Shelton is the outlier here. He likes Minnesota. Shelton likes to row the boat, clearly. Shelton, you ain't here to defend yourself, so we're gonna put some things on your name. Row the boat. All right, one last one. Big 12 SEC matchup. Mizzou at K-State. I think both teams are 2-0. If I am not mistaken.
They are.
They are both 2-0. But Missouri played somebody like week 1 that was not a good team. And like I remember watching this, like, how in the world? Oh, here you go. They played South Dakota. That was a game pretty much until that was not a game, but they struggled with Middle Tennessee State last week.
Yeah.
Struggled. So, Tally, who are you taking in this one?
Man, I gotta go K-State. I told y'all I hate the SEC. Billy, you said that's big boy ball. I said that's little balls football. You know? I'm going K-State, man. I think they're gonna. I mean, K-State's always got a pretty tough program. They play hard. They're playing at home. All jokes aside, it's an early game, so I'm gonna take K-State in that game.
All righty, Siegler.
Yeah, it's got to be K-State. I mean, K-State looks like a solid team this year. Mizzou 2-0, but I mean that's a fraudulent looking 2-0 with the outcome against Middle Tennessee, and then only getting by South Dakota 35-10. So not overly impressive there either. So give me Kansas State.
And I'm with y'all. Make this a trifecta. It's only 5 to lay it. Yeah, 5 ain't enough. I think Kansas State wins this one 10-14. It'll probably be.
I'd have probably taken it at 9.5. So
okay, all right.
I'll definitely take it at 5.
What's Sheldon got on this one?
We're sweeping this one.
Sweeping. So we've got 3 picks we are absolutely on, and then 2 mixed picks, and then 1 pick. Everybody, it's one person against the rest of us. Awesome. Those are our big screens. We'll put them out there to let everybody see.
Put Billy's last.
Hold on. Billy wants this one.
There.
Hold on.
And I will. Yeah, Curtis, you take a look at that and tell him what you think about that first.
That's just. I think I'm going to take South Carolina and give me the 27.5. Georgia has been so slow out of the gate, not once but twice. Against UT Martin and then last week. I think that's too big. I think Georgia's in that situation where they're retooling. Brock Bowers is a crazy, crazy tight end.
Yeah.
But right now they're trying to figure out what else to do. And to say you're going to lay 4 touchdowns, that's a lot just because in some ways I think Shane will revert back to pops and try to slow the game down and just make it a grind fest.
Yeah, I think if it was like a line about 20,
20,
19 or 20,
absolutely.
I'd
go Uga there. But I'm taking the Cox in this situation.
4 touchdowns a ton.
Yeah, usually if it was like y'all said about 20, I would have took Georgia. But with it being 27.5, I'm still taking Georgia. My Shane was on there crying about the staff eating hot dogs. When you start getting on TV and talking and complaining and crying, you playing losing football, Shane. Get your keys ready. Come on home. We might need you to coach something up here at Tech. Come get on staff. Y'all about to get beat by about 35. 35.
He says 35. Okay, write that down.
Shit.
All right. Anything breaking in the last little while here, boys?
Nope, not that I've seen.
All righty. Well, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner Podcast, brought to you by Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
Visit our website, boundarycornervt.com, to listen to all of our episodes. Check out the merchandise top at the Boundary Corner store. While you're there, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Over 2,300 followers. Thank y'all for getting us right there. Facebook, we don't have a lot of y'all. Add us so you can easily stream the episodes live every week. Instagram, we're going to try to get the collective pictures we took together this weekend together and get them on Instagram. We'll see how that works. Well, listen, I think what I saw Saturday is we are three people. Everybody likes to take pictures occasionally, but the moment's what it is.
I'm just enjoying the moment, man.
Damn right. It's the moment every single
Soak
time.
it in, man.
Also, YouTube. If you're listening to us on YouTube tonight and you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Not only does it automatically go right to the episode when you click on us. If Brian's pulling reels out for little short takes, please subscribe there. Also, favorite podcast source, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. We are on all of them. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long, who had drinks with us, and actually he texted me twice here tonight and saying we won't talk about Aaron Rodgers and that a podcast rule. We had to do that. But he also made a point that he's poured 5 fingers while listening to us of the rye we gave him.
There we go.
Whew. That boy ain't gonna be able to teach tomorrow.
That's all right. It's Thursday, man. He'll grind through.
It's true. It's true. Catch him down at the Grandin Village Farmers Market, 8 to 12 this weekend. And what else? Oh, yeah, Spotify, YouTube, all his stuff, too. Check it out. It links right to the website there, jasonlongmusic.com. As always, we thank you for listening, and let's go.
Hokies.